Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about this movie, Legacy of Blood, also re-released as Will to Die. It's got John Carradine at top billing, although he isn't in that much of the movie. He plays a really, really rich guy who dies and leaves his estate to be split amongst his 4 adult children and his 3, I guess you would call them servants. I guess we could say house employees. I don't know. So, this kind of movie, everyone meets at a manor for their reading of the inheritance, and then they get stuck in the manor, and then they're all killed off one by one. This trope or theme has been done many times, but I was thinking about it, and most of the times I've seen it done have been after 1971, with the exception of this movie called What a Carve Up, which I think was 1961 or 2. That was a British movie with Donald Pleasance, Michael Gough, a few comedians. It was an interesting murder mystery comedy that wasn't too strong on the murder or the violence, but it was interesting because it was a definite murder mystery with like 2 comedic parts thrown in. It was pretty good. That one was pretty well done. Other than that, I don't know of any more that are older than this, although I'm sure they're out there. It seems to be a very classic type of story. Anyway, this one, which was released by Elman Enterprises, I think is the company, which is the same company that released the 1970 film Bigfoot, which was absolutely horrible, which also featured John Carradine. This movie's all right. It's kind of the opposite, or the inverse of What a Carve Up, because the story's okay and the acting isn't that good, but the kills or whatever you want to call them, murders, are crazy. For the time, they're pretty crazy. So what ends up happening is well, I'll just tell you, I give this one a 6 out of 10. I was borderline between 5 and 6, but it just got so crazy at the end that I appreciate it. So we can push it into the passing territory of 6 out of 10. I don't know what kind of release this has really gotten, but I caught a pretty crappy rip on YouTube. So you could watch it if you're really into finding these random obscure movies, like I am. It's on there. There's also a pretty good quality version that's all in Spanish, but, you know, I wouldn't watch that one unless you speak Spanish and don't mind dubbing. So anyway, they get there, and basically the guy is like a billionaire. Maybe he's like he's leaving a couple $100 million here to his heirs. He's giving $1 million each to the 3 employees, and then the rest of it gets split 4 ways between the 4 children, except that the stipulation is that the 4 children must spend 1 week in the home, or else they don't get the inheritance, and then it goes to the servants. So you would think that wouldn't be a problem, except on the first night, the oldest son's wife, who has a little dog, can't find her dog, and then she finds her dog drowned in like a pond. And this is where it all starts to go crazy. So I'm going to go through the highlights, which is definitely all the best parts of the movie. So if you want to watch it, I would go watch it first before watching the rest of this video. Otherwise, let's talk about the parts that actually made this movie cool. So like the dog being found drowned isn't cool or anything, I mean, but they call the sheriff. The sheriff shows up, and then the sheriff gets killed by an axe to the face. Now, it doesn't look that great, but they do show a lot of blood and stuff like that. So for a really low budget early 70s movie, it was pretty cool. But what actually ramped it up was that later, all the people were kind of like trying to figure out what happened. They think there's a killer on the loose. And so they sit down and somebody's hungry and they say there's a ham inside the fridge. And this is one of the best parts of the movie. They pull out this ham and take like the tin foil off of the ham, but it's the cop's head. It's the sheriff's head, and you can see it right here. This poster looks like garbage, but this is the sheriff's head on a plate. Obviously a black and white poster, and they put a little bit of red there so you can see that the sheriff's head was bloody. So the sheriff's head's on a plate. Everyone's wondering who did that. They're trying to calm down, trying to make sure that the house is like safe. They find out that the car doesn't work. Now, I don't remember why there's only one car, because how did all these people get there? I'm not sure they explained that. But anyway, they can't drive anywhere for help, and the phone no longer works. So now they think maybe it's somebody in the house, but they're not really sure. Also, then the oldest son and the wife go to bed, and he goes to turn off the light, and they're snuggling. Now, this part was stupid, but kind of funny. Probably accidentally funny. He goes to turn off the light, and he gets electrocuted, like, for a long time. Like, being constantly electrocuted, and because they're snuggling, she's electrocuted too, but, like, there's no special effects. It's just the two of them, like, shaking. So that wasn't that good. And they could continue to be electrocuted until people, like, realize that something's wrong, and they go into the room, and this servant named Frank, like, smacks the lamp away, and then they're not electrocuted anymore, but they're dead. Then we're really trying to figure out who it is. We have a weird, like, story arc where the youngest son and the youngest daughter have some kind of incest thing going on, but the daughter's married to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist's husband won't let her see the brother that she appears to be in love with. Meanwhile, there's another daughter named Veronica, and she is trying to seduce the husband of the youngest incestuous daughter, and that husband finally, like, decides to, like, go for it, and then she rejects him. So she's obviously just playing a game with him there. That youngest daughter, her name is Leslie in the movie. This is her. You can see here she eventually gets shot in the head. But she is played by the main actress who was in... what was it called? It was a 1970 movie where she was in that, like, Christian two-man circus. Man, I had it, but now I forget. It wasn't that great, but she's really, I think she's only done like 4 movies or something like that, and she's in this one. Aside from that, something else crazy. They think that it was her husband that's killing everyone. And so he gets tied up in a chair and left in, like, a stairwell. And then later somebody throws... it just looks like a little thing like this, but apparently it's full of killer bees. And these killer bees sting the crap out of this guy's face. And you can see here, his face is a mess. The special effects for that actually looked really good. They definitely used real bees, too. So they put this, like, gross special effects makeup on the guy and then put some real bees on his face. That was crazy. Also, we find out that Frank, the chauffeur, I don't know if he was supposed to be like a World War II veteran or something, but in his bedroom, he's got all this Nazi memorabilia, including a lamp made out of a person, and there's like a swastika on it. And I think it's supposed to be that he, like, took all this stuff off of Nazis that he killed. But he has it all displayed in his room, so it's, like, kind of sketchy. They definitely steer you towards thinking it's this guy, because he has all these knives and guns in his room, and he has that lamp, and of course, we have 2 people killed by a lamp. It ends up not being him. At the end of... we also find out there's this guy, Igor, who is this other servant, and when John Carradine, in flashbacks, needs to punish his children... By the way, John Carradine is in this ridiculous part of the poster up here. John Carradine has this, like, rod that he is, like, you think he's going to beat his children with, but this guy, Igor, the adult child will kneel on the ground, and then Igor will like throw himself on top of whatever child is getting beaten, and then John Carradine will beat the crap out of Igor like as a whipping boy in place of his children. So there's all this crazy stuff that goes on here. I mean, the acting was mostly bad, and there were some parts where the momentum or the pacing of the story just like got messed up. But it was really crazy. Just in case you're one of those people who likes to watch this video, or these videos that I do without watching it, I'm not going to tell you who the killer is. You can find out by watching the movie yourself. Although it was a surprise, and I did not figure it out. Almost kind of made it like a giallo, but like an American giallo, but not really. It's more like a classic murder mystery that ramped up the violence. And we've been talking about this idea of proto-slashers. With that last movie we did, which was Blood and Lace, people online have described that as a proto-slasher. I would say this is much closer to being a proto-slasher, if you want to use that term. And you don't know who the killer is till the end, but the fact that everybody is killed with a different way or with a different weapon or a different method makes it a lot more slashery to me than Blood and Lace. Not to mention the fact that almost every single character in this movie dies. I won't tell you how many are left at the end, but it's a small number. So anyway, it was definitely better than Bigfoot. And I would say I'm like glad I watched it. It was not boring. It was pretty interesting. So pretty decent. 6 out of 10. Legacy of Blood. Not to be confused with 1978's Legacy of Blood, directed by Andy Milligan. And I can only assume that is horrible because I don't like anything I've ever seen by Andy Milligan. Although 1978 is a lot later than the other stuff I've seen him do. So, Legacy of Blood, also known as Will to Die. We'll see you next time.